One thing I'm realizing as I learned, and I've been using YouTube videos to learn my specific things, which is a blessing. There's stuff about guitar, programming, music, and all this stuff. One thing I realized as I said, you know what, something feels uncanny. I need to go to the source. I noticed that, these individuals that educate on YouTube, they're no different than us. They're just like us. For the most part, they're regular individuals, just recording videos and posting online. I didn't know or realize this because when I was originally looking for these tutorials and knowledge and understanding, I just didn't know any better. You know what I mean? Like, I just did not know. And I couldn't really like I was a fresh canvas, and whatever they fed me, I took as knowledge. And you know, I do want to say, please be very, very careful with the knowledge you consume, especially when you are a beginner, because habits form and they become so difficult to break again, and reformat. You know, one thing that's like, so I'll give you an example. Playing guitar, right? When I play guitar, I have a set order, right? When I form chords, I start from the highest note, or on the keyboard, on the guitar, right? I go top to bottom in order every single time when forming the chords. I was very mindful of that. Every time I learn a new chord, same thing, top to bottom. Um, the only reason that really stuck with me is because I was taking guitar lessons, and my instructor corrected me. He said, "No, pick an order. I suggest top to bottom. Stick with that. Stop forming chords randomly." By that I mean, a chord is three fingers, right? You can start, if we let's say we're using a three finger chord that needs three fingers, right? Um, Pick a way to start and form every single one. You have your index, you have your middle finger, and your ring finger. Sometimes I was starting with my index finger, sometimes I was using my middle finger, sometimes my ring finger, right? I didn't have a consistent order. And guess what? That sounds very small, but it's really impactful, man. Like because of my set order, my fingers were forming the chords before my mind can even process how to form the chords. My mind was trying to think, but my body remembered. It's kind of the reason why people who do analog mixing and stuff like that, they build this muscle memory with their equipment. It's kind of tough to do the same when it comes to like music plugins. All right, same thing with vocal lessons. I was doing like these vocal lessons on YouTube, but it's like you don't know what you don't know. You need an instructor, because they're gonna tell you the exercises are gonna be specifically made for you. You don't know your range. You don't know your range. You don't know how to expand it, and you can really harm your voice. And you could be trying to do something you're not able to. Like you could be causing tension. You could be just, because the thing is, singing needs to be very open and relaxed. And I'm talking about music, but what really like brought this to my attention and mind was just programming, right? So I've been trying to learn how to program, and while I do, and I'm the type of person that doesn't like tutorials, I don't like instructions. The moment I learn something and I feel I can apply it, I stop and I do my own thing, fail, reach a wall, and then try again. So one of the things that I struggled with is, one, just figuring out how to learn the program, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm a creative person. All right, I see the creative potential of programming. I messed around. AI was so amazing for me in terms of like just building shit. But you know, look at this channel. I'm nobody. Why? Because despite the fact that AI can build all these things, what have I even built? Nothing. AI is so great at going from nothing to something, but then completing an entire project of any decent complexity. Terrible, bro. Terrible experience. You don't even know what AI is doing. AI picks like the lowest least effort path towards whatever instructions you give, right? So so it would give the illusion of like I'm progressing and stuff like that, but then I was never actually able to build anything, and the technical debt will increase and increase and increase, and that made me want to program. But then there's the situation though. I think a lot of these teachers, first of all, the textbooks are boring as hell. Hate them, so trash. Second of all, um, these teachers low key suck, man. A lot of these, like when I don't know anything, like I listen, right? But they also suck. You know what I mean? Like the best way I could describe it is I felt like a lot of these programming things, even courses, they never really helped me understand how to program, right? It's like I'm cooking, right? Let's say I've never tasted any of the ingredients I am using. Don't know shit about them, never felt them. For this example, because I don't cook, I can only think of a cake. I'm baking a cake. This tutorial says you measure this amount of salt. You need this amount of egg. You need flour. You need yeast. And then so it's telling me all these things, and it's telling me how much, how to place it, and I'm like following the instructions. And then I make the cake, but then I don't really understand how to bake a cake. I don't even understand how any of these ingredients work on their own. I don't understand what these building blocks are that I just use. And a lot of them are like, do this, do that, do this, do that, right? Oh, what? Okay, let me go build something, right? Let's say it's a cake recipe. For the purpose of the tutorial, they made a vanilla cake recipe, right? So the equivalent to this of me building my own thing would be I build the vanilla cake and then I put some chocolate sauce, some lime sauce or whatever, strawberry sauce. I throw in some strawberries there, right? Sure, I built this cake, but it's still the same exact cake though. Like for me, I said I like the creativity. There is no creativity in that, man. There is no creativity. To me, creativity is about creating unique experiences. This is the same fucking cake in different fonts, right? That's kind of the issue. This AI shit, it's slop, right? It's the same underlying structure of what it was trained on in different fonts and different visual manifestations, but it's all an illusion because at the end of the day, the skeleton is the same. Why? What do I mean by this? No matter how much I set out and bake this cake on my own and make all these different cakes, right? It's still the underlying cake recipe. And if I start a business and I'm like, I am an expert cake maker now, I have mastered the art of making cake, right? Um, and then let's say I add some more of these. I do some more tutorials, right? Different styles of cake, and now I have a bit more cake in my repertoire, right? Um, and then I started business, and then my cake is good on paper, but my business is failing. It's because I'm making the same exact cake as every fucking person that followed the recipe. I'm not doing anything different, special. Listen, just because I add my strawberries doesn't change the same. It doesn't change the fact it's the same fucking cake. Like, you know why? Because I know how to follow instructions, but I don't know how to create cake. There's a thing about ratios. I can do things to taste for my own preference. I could be, if I knew actually how to bake the fucking cake, like conceptually and understand, instead of like blindly following instructions like a robot, right? I could be like, well, I like my cake a bit fluffier. I like my cake a bit denser, right? See, what the person that just follows instructions, what they would do is they look for a recipe for fluffy cake, and when they want a fluffy cake, they go to that recipe, and then they go this recipe. And so they're just stacking up these recipes that they just vomit out, right? No, nothing is happening in their brain. It's just pure memorization not actual a feat of intelligence, in that domain. The reason I'm getting at this is because, bro, um, I got so tired that I had to like say, yo, I need to figure out a way to understand. So listen, I don't really trust AI, but AI, one thing I do know is AI is great at pattern recognition. Second of all, is I don't trust AI's responses because a lot of it is baseless and hallucinated. But if you don't understand something and you give it a verified source text, right? A text that you can trust, it just makes zero sense. AI is great for explaining it in a way that you can understand. But the issue, though, you first have to figure out a way you understand. So for programming, right? First and foremost, most of these programming books, so boring, doing math. It's like they're teaching you to program and to think in programming, but it's so math based and like out of like practicality that I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this? My solution was, um, I'm gonna be. I need things like I started getting, like, for example, one of the books I'm using is SICP, right? The wizard book, right? Structured Interpreted Computer Programs. Luckily, it's useful, because there's a JavaScript version. Because the thing is, some of these books, you know, they're different programming languages, but it, they'll use some type of list or whatever. But anyways, SSCP, I said, listen, I want to use this for the intended purpose of programming video games. That's it. Specifically, I had to get it to explain it in Pokemon terms, like if I'm programming a Pokemon code base. Why? Because one thing I know is I played a shit ton of Pokemon, and and understanding, I think it's like one of the most games I played the most, right? And understanding like my interactions of playing the game in code really was like helped me, like, okay, I understand this, right? It's because it's something I know inside out. So it really helped me figure things out. And I found that's a lot better. And you know I mean, today, man, I learned about sets, and I never heard of, like, of my mind, I don't remember a tutorial teaching me when to use this thing called a set versus like an array or a list. I found this out from SICP. I was like, yo, this is a thing. I had to check Mozilla. I thought it was like, what the fuck is a set? Never heard of it, and I mean, I don't remember the advantages. But what I'm trying to say though is, like, I felt, for example, SICP is a book that I felt like, yo, this is actually helping me conceptualize and understand how to program and build stuff with clarity. Because for me, man, like, the only way I could really describe my experience with coding is like, I'm doing it, but something feels off, man. Like, there was such an offness, I can't put my finger down. Even if it works, even if it makes progress, something just feels so off. And at the heart of it is just like complexity. Like, as and the increase in mental load, that it's just like, this makes no sense. Like, why is it this way? Like, why are we doing this? Why do I have to do this way, right? Like, this sense of complexity and this feeling like, shit, things could be simpler, things could be easier on me, and I just can't figure out how or why. you know or it's like, they teach data structure and algorithms, and it's like, bro, like, this shit is being taught in a bubble. Like, I need to be taught in a way where I can leverage it. And a lot of these things, they don't teach you. It's like being taught math, man. Like you're being taught math. Everyone understands adding money and multiplying money, I guess, right? But it's like being taught tough subjects that seem almost like magic, in situations where, in like contextless, unleverageable, practical situations, is so tough, man. It makes things so much harder. It's like physics, man. I think if schools would have just gave a little bit more care and actually tried, physics can be easily like taught at gym class or like with sports, you know. Physics is like can be taught like that very easily, or using analogies, you know, with like for sports and whatnot. And I don't know, like that's just me ranting, you know. Like definitely be careful about what you find out, and figure out and find, like, really, like, sit down, read academic papers, well, read a bunch of different books, man. Like, you don't have to read them entirely. You just gotta read a little bit and gauge, like, hey, is the way I think and the way this person thinks aligned? Because that's another. Because that's the thing with programming. When it comes to programming, man, there's a lot of mindsets. There's a lot of philosophy. There's different approaches. Listen, you could be struggling this entire time with game programming, only to realize that, oh, the way you thought about things and the way it's commonly thought were misaligned. The most common, hell, even this, man, this is I fucking hate this. I think fundamentally one of the things that really like sparked this is just realizing I don't like OOP. For some reason, object oriented programming is the established way to teach programming. That shit makes less sense to me than just taking a pure data oriented approach, man. Like, that makes way more sense. Like, OOP is just to me, you know? Like, so because OOP is the standard, you could be struggling with programming this entire time because for you, you find that a data and oriented approach just made more sense. But guess what, though? If you look for tutorials, good luck finding a data oriented approach to building games. Like, the only ones that I know of is Bevy, because the Bevy game engine is an entity component system. So that's the, like, unless you're using like Bevy or something, you're not going to be using entity component systems, all right? You're not going to be making games in that manner, which is also a completely a different approach of making games, because now there are not these things, you know, they're not like these little toys in your game world, bro. It's just data structures with these values. You know what I mean? It's a totally different perspective. And so you could be struggling like crazy, and it's just because your mind is just built different and you understand and relate with programming or the programs in a different manner, man. So, like I said, be very mindful, man. And listen, you could force yourself to learn something, right? Anyone could do that, but is that optimal? Is that the best way? Like, why should you swim up the river against the current? You know, swim with the current. Figure out what works for you. You know, I think one of the biggest flaws, one of the biggest issues is terminology, like best. You know, there is no best approach. It's only the best. It's only the most compatible approach. I think it's not about the best approach, man. Don't think in terms of what's the best game engine, what's the best programming language, what's the best blah blah blah. It's what's most compatible with me. That's the real question we should be asking when we're trying to learn or figure things out. Is it's not the best, it's not the most important. Is what's most compatible with me. What enables me to actually take real action on my dreams and goals, right? Like, at the end of the day, if you never take action, right? You never took action. If the camera, if the reality is being live streamed to gods, you ain't do shit, man. If you didn't even write it down a word, you didn't do shit, man. You could think about it, you could approach, you could plan all you want. Complete is complete. Half completed projects is no completed projects. You don't even understand what complete really is. You know, do what gets you taking forward steps to your goals. Listen, people hate on AI. AI is great. Just don't become reliant on it. One thing, like, listen, sit down, figure out to program, find a teacher, but on the side, prototype with AI, man. AI really puts that game designer brain in you. Why? Because you start asking questions that you're able to balance both, because as a game designer, you have to figure out, you ask questions and interact with the game in ways the programmer never would. And if you are programming to then test it, that takes a while, man. And ideas are cheap. You start to realize how shitty some ideas are, man. You really do start to realize that, oh, this idea didn't work. This idea didn't work. So that's all I have to say for today. Just be very mindful. These YouTubers, these social media stars, any celebrity, they're no different from us, man. You only start to realize just how same they are once you reach the same level they are. You start to pick up flaws. It's the only reason we don't know is because we simply don't know. We're too ignorant. They seem sparkly. They seem amazing because we know nothing. We know nothing. But once we start to know, we start to evaluate what you've been taught, and you're like, well, I don't agree with that. Um, the best advice, like the best example that I can really say is, like, for example, mixing advice. Some of this mixing advice, I'm like, you know what? I don't need all that shit, man. Like, a lot of that shit is overcomplicating stuff. If you learn to EQ enough, eventually you